Welcome into Hockey Sense. Great to have you with us once again for our Friday tradition here live from Half Coast Studios, brought to you by the one and only First Community each and every week. It's August, and I keep saying this to you each and every week. Not a whole lot going on, and nothing's changed since last week heading into this week. But I thought this would be a good week to kind of dive into the Blues organization a little bit. Steve Konowalchuk, who was the head coach in Springfield last year for the Blues minor league affiliate, his first season there, entering season number 2 now. Of course, he's got a good story, former captain of the Washington Capitals, the first player, maybe the only player to ever be born and raised in the state of Utah and play in the National Hockey League. So that's interesting too with Steve Konowalchuk. He coached in the WHL, coached some good players there in Red Deer, I believe. And, now he's coaching in Springfield. So Dalibor Dvorsky, you got so many other, young prospects. Colton Ellis, he obviously had Tyler Tucker down there for a little bit. You've got some good young players that are going to be future Blues. And he's got a good read on all of them. So we're going to go down the list and we're going to find out just how close some of these guys might be, what their strengths and weaknesses are as a player, how they've transitioned to playing in the American Hockey League, and just get his take on a number of these guys. One player he never had, obviously, was, Jimmy Snuggerud. Never got his hands on him. So, yeah, he probably would have liked to have him for a little bit. But it's got to be interesting when you're coaching in the American League. And, your job is to try to win, I guess, but you're also expected to help develop players for the NHL roster. And, when I look at the Springfield roster from last season, I mean, they've had some good players there. Because Otto Stenberg came over. Don't forget, he played almost 40 games last season for Springfield as well. How close is he? Did he play him mostly at center? Did he get some time on the wing? Where did he play the most? How does he view Dvorsky? Does he have to play center? Does he view him only as a center? Those are some of the questions. Guys like Leo Loof, man, I want to know about him. Zach Dean, who dealt with a lot of injuries last season, who played just 11 games in the American League last year. So, again, I'm interested to hear what he has to say about a lot of these guys. We're going to get straight to the interview. Not going to spend a whole lot of time talking beforehand. As always, First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week. We know that. They've got the back-to-school auto loans. I always love talking about the back-to-school auto loans. Summer is officially over. School starts Monday for my kids. I'm sure a lot of you listening right now, your kids are already in school. First Community, they give you the same rate, whether it's a new car or a used car, and you may say, okay, so what's the big deal with that? Well, the big deal is that nobody does that. First Community does, where they give you the same rate for a used car that they would give you for a new car. That doesn't happen. Most places charge a higher rate for used cars, but not First Community. Qualified borrowers can get a rate as low as 4.99 APR for 36 months. And trust me, I can promise you that's an unbelievable rate you're not getting anywhere else as well. Do your homework on that. Go ahead and compare the rates for yourself. You'll see First Community always competitive with great rates and 90 days before the first payment is due. So, 90 days before you got to make your first payment and you get the lowest rate and your rate is the same for a used car as a new car. Now, you got to be kidding me. First Community flat out gets it done in so many different ways, and we love having them on board with us here on Hockey Sense. You see Blue Note Roofing, of course, 314-920-5713. Give them a call today. David Novak standing by, ready to take your call, ready to give you that free estimate if you had wind and hail damage, any storm damage. Obviously, he's the guy to call. He works with all the big-time insurance agencies, roofing, siding, gutter, soffit fascia, whatever it is you need. This guy's unbelievable. Look for the big yellow truck with the blue notes on the side of it, and he'll take care of you. Again, you see the phone number there, 314-920-5713. He's a huge hockey fan, too. He personally takes credit for the Puce Suter signing the Blues made a few weeks ago. By the way, coming up on the Chemistry podcast soon, we're going to have Dylan Holloway joining us. We're going to have Jim Montgomery joining us. We're going to have lots of Blues content coming up there. Ben Bishop, I believe, is going to join us next week here on Hockey Sense. So a lot of great stuff. The Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame, the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame, the induction ceremony is coming up on August 23rd. Get involved with that. If you want to be around some great people and truly the pillars of the St. Louis hockey community. Head on out to that event. I'll be emceeing once again this year. Paul Stastny is going in. Chris Butler, who joined us last week here on Hockey Sense, he's also going in this year. Ben Bishop. I mean, it's like a Chaminade reunion with the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame. Scotty Rupp and all those guys do an unbelievable job. So, again, looking forward to everything we have coming up here as the summer is kind of winding down and we get into training camp really in a matter of about a month. We're going to have training camp. So looking forward to this coming Blues season. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. New sponsor alert here on Hockey Sense. Welcome aboard Cross Country Mortgage. Everyone needs a good mortgage, and everyone needs to know a mortgage guy. If you don't know Mark Cooper, then I don't know what to tell you. You're not getting the best rate, I'll tell you that. You need to get a hold of this guy and do it today. 314-713-4377. Give him a call. Now, Cross Country Mortgage, by far the largest retail mortgage company in the U.S. You know, 1 in every 35 closings in America come from Cross Country. That is an insane number. 1 in every 35. They've got dynamic products, home with a 1% down loan, 2% gift from Cross Country, no strings attached, it does have some income limits, but they're very reasonable. This is what I love about what they do for people in the community, first responders specifically. They cover their mortgage up to $525,000 of protection if critically injured or killed in the line of duty. They will cover your mortgage up to $525,000. Are you kidding me? Loans for doctors up to $1 million with 0 down and no PMI. So they're taking care of the first responders. They're taking care of the doctors. If you're a doctor, if you're a first responder, hit up Cross Country Mortgage and do it today. Again, 314-713-4377. They're home of the Bye-Bye PMI loan. That's a 740 or better credit score, and they waive the PMI requirements with 15% down or 15% equity. So anyone who's purchased a home with a 5% down in the last 2 years should look into this option, as you can save hundreds of dollars per month off of your mortgage. Just call Mark and call him today. 314-713-4377. Tell him you heard him on Hockey Sense with Andy Strickland. They offer loans in all 50 states, too. So if you're listening outside of the state of Missouri, they can still help you. Loan number 238015. That's the MLS number, 238015. Cross Country Mortgage. Welcome aboard to Hockey Sense. Great to have you along, as always. Mark Cooper, he's the man. Call him today. All right, Steve Konowalchuk. He joins us next here on Hockey Sense. Looking forward to this conversation. We'll dive into the Blues organization. And again, lots of good stuff coming your way, not only on here, but also on Hockey Sense. We got lots of good stuff happening live from the Half Coast studios. We're talking Blues prospects, American Hockey League. That's next here on Hockey Sense. Don't go anywhere. Steve Konowalchuk, what'd your teammates call you when you were playing? Was it Connie? Is that your name?
Kono, yeah, and a few other nicknames, but Kono was the good nickname that I like to go with. Not a couple of the others.
Yeah. Who got you into coaching? I know your career kind of ended a little bit prematurely, right? I mean, health-wise, you look good, you feel good now, right? I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise, but you were able to get your coaching career going, and you know, you've had a great run, and you're really just beginning at 52 years old. You got a long runway ahead of you, Steve.
Well, you're right. The way my career ended, it opened the door for the coaching. I never, when I was playing, planned to be into the coaching or the management side of things. I was asked when I had to retire there, the Avalanche put me in player development, asked me if I want to be part of it and see what management was like. And I liked it, and I liked working with the kids. And, the next thing you know, I got into the coaching aspect. But I think if as unfortunate as that maybe a couple of years shaved off my playing career, it certainly opened the doors for coaching. And, I've enjoyed doing that. It's certainly a big challenge.
All right, so coaching in the Western Hockey League and then obviously coaching pro. You've coached in the NHL as well as an assistant. But, how much do you love the development process? Developing players at the junior level, getting them ready for pro hockey, but then, trying to get these guys to the NHL as well in the American League.
I enjoy the development side. I think that's why I spent so much time in junior hockey. You can make such an impact on the young players with their skill and but also the on and off the ice stuff, and try and prepare them to go into pro hockey. And And now with the American League, it's an extension of that. You still have a lot of young players, but there's also it's a good balance where you have the career veterans as well that you have to work with, and it's a different kind of I shouldn't say maybe motivation, but just a different respect level for career veterans in the minor league as well that are 30, 35 years old, but still have that development aspect. I think sometimes at the NHL, you should be getting a lot of finished products. So the development part is I find not quite as big, but that's got its own challenges in itself.
All right, so listen, you're from Utah. My kid played in a hockey tournament this summer, and there were like kids from like 10 or 11 different states, and one kid was actually from Utah. So you're the first, I think you might be the only player to ever play in the NHL that was born and raised in Utah. So how'd that happen? How'd you get, into the game of hockey? And like, did you live there your entire adolescence before you headed off to go play junior?
Well, I left at 15, turning 16. So I have a brother that's a year older, and he kind of made the roadmap for me. My dad came from Edmonton, Alberta, just outside there. So he was a big hockey guy, like anybody from Canada. They like their hockey. And so he found any way we could get ice. There was 3 ice rinks at the time, and we would, both my parents would split up and take my brother or take myself to a different rink, and we'd get ice time that way. Eventually, we had to get to a little bit better competition, and that ended up being Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I ended up playing 1 year Bantam and 2 years midget. So I guess that'd be U18 now. I know they've changed all the names. U18 a couple years there, and I didn't play junior hockey till I was 18, and then I ended up playing at 18, and then kind of in Portland for the WHL, and went from there.
Yeah. Midget minor, midget major, they call it a U18. Now they're looking to get rid of U18 and just go down to a U17. So, and make that the highest age. There's a lot of discussion about that. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's pretty cool. Utah. And did you ever see Utah having an NHL team? I mean, that's going to be huge, right, for the interest in the game?
Well, it is huge. No, I never would have thought. People thought we were absolutely crazy. I say my dad, for putting so much time into us in our hockey, and he was just passionate about it. So absolutely. And they didn't even, at the time, obviously we're going back a lot of years, they hadn't even seen hockey. And obviously it's grown since then, and it'll get put on the map even more. The Olympics helped quite a bit as well years back, but no, it's pretty impressive, and it is a good city and a fast growing city, so I'm sure it'll be a lot of success.
All right, so when you're in Washington, and you were the captain of the Washington Capitals too, but all these guys that are now executives or coaches, did you cross over with Berube and Dale Hunter and these guys? And I know Keith Jones for sure, who's now running the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, it's just amazing from that team, that organization, how many guys are coaching or involved in management.
Yeah, it's pretty, I was fortunate. I spent a lot of years with Dale Hunter and Craig Berube, and, they are always fun to pick their brain, talk hockey. You could always, it wasn't, after games, it would be, you'd go find a pub or whatever and get something to eat, and you'd talk about the game or whether it's on the airplane. So that was a great learning experience for me, being with those guys. Keith Jones, yeah, we had our first call up together. He was out of college, I was out of junior, and I remember where we were when we got our first call up, and I went and played our first game. So yeah, so you don't forget those kind of friendships and memories, and very fortunate. And then another guy that's obviously big is Adam Oates. A lot of time spent talking hockey with him, a lot of years with him. So I was fortunate to play with some real good hockey minds.
Yeah, I love talking hockey with all those guys, but Adam Oates too. He's got that next level of confidence in his belief in how the game should be played, if that makes sense in terms of what I'm saying. Like, and this obviously being teammates with him, but like, some guys, kind of speak the game, but like he speaks it to, his own conviction. He doesn't like the way a lot of other people see the game, but he certainly likes the way that he sees it, and he makes a lot of sense. And he was such a good player, man. I mean, this guy was so good, wasn't he?
Well, yes, he's an amazing player, and I think obviously people know how well he could pass the puck, and it was pretty impressive. I'd be a guy that bounce around from line to line, and occasionally I'd get put on his line, and you'd better be ready to shoot the puck, because you're going to get 3, 4, if not 5 shots that game, where you might get 1 or 2 at best on a different line, and so you got to be ready. But I think with him too, on top of his offense, I always look back. He loved the game. Like he'd skate. He'd be out there skating with the guys that got less ice time, working on his craft. took pride in face-offs, defensive. The times I penalty killed with him, he was a real good penalty killer as well. So as well, he's just such a well-rounded, smart hockey player, and he did it a lot by hockey sense. He wasn't a big guy, wasn't a fastest guy, but his hockey sense with and without the puck was off the charts.
Yeah. All these guys you're talking about, they all love the game. I mean, Craig Berube loves the game. And people look at him as like this guy who obviously fought a lot, still played over 1,000 games. But did you know, just in terms of watching hockey with him, and he's talked about those stories over and over again, going and, he still does it to this day. After games, he's not going home after he's watching the late games and loves to eat his wings and whatnot. Like, did you know that he had the ability, not just the perception of being a fighter, but like to see the game, to read the game, and eventually get into coaching? Could you see that from him at a younger age?
Well, you certainly see the passion. I think me being a little bit younger, I wasn't worried about what I was doing later or what he was doing later after. But again, the passion that he had for the game, and he helped me as well, being a little bit older, give me confidence in my ability, what I bring to the table, especially at times, I wasn't scoring a lot of goals. I was kind of a two-way player, but he gave me a lot of confidence in that kind of being that kind of player. And but again, the passion. I mean, we'd get back to the practice rink, and on the East Coast, you get home a little bit earlier, but maybe 12, 1 o'clock, we'd sit at the practice rink and have a couple beer and talk hockey. If you're on the road, you're talking hockey. And so it doesn't surprise me when he likes a game that much that he's still involved and got to the top. Doesn't matter, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if you're a player or coach or whatever you do in life. If you love it, you have a chance to get to the top. And if you don't love it, at some point, usually maybe you don't get to your expectations because it becomes work. But obviously for Craig Berube, it's not work. He'll study the game, watch a game, and wants to be around it every second.
Yeah, no, he's the best. And Dale Hunter, obviously, what he's doing in London, what he's done with the London Knights has just been absolutely incredible. I would imagine you want to be a head coach in the NHL one day. That's why you're doing it. And being a head coach in the American League is certainly the closest you can get to being a head coach in the National League. Did you know Army? What was your connection to the Blues? How'd you get here to the Blues organization?
Well, you know what? I guess it would be more so than Army. It was Maxwell, the GM in Springfield. When I was working for the Rangers, I stepped out of coaching for a couple of years and got into scouting with the New York Rangers. And Kevin Maxwell was the head scout there, head pro scout, and so I had a working relationship. He became the GM in Springfield, and maybe I think that's maybe what got the ball rolling when they were looking for a coach. Obviously, you have the big interview process with a lot of the different staff and Army and everybody in the Blues organization. But I think just one thing led to another from that connection.
How often do you talk to Army during the season? I mean, are you guys in contact all the time? Are you talking to the coaching staff? Are you talking to Monty? Like, who do you keep in touch with the most on a regular basis with the Blues?
Well, mainly a lot of our development staff is real good too. Like we have 4 guys that come in all the time, and they're real good. So I think that's the biggest communication. So they're around us, and then from there they take it up top. Obviously, Army checks in. Tim Taylor checks in a lot. Maxie, our GM, they communicate. So there's always a constant communication. I think a lot of the time though, Army's busy doing his thing up with the NHL team, and we're busy doing our thing, and it's almost a communication through a chain of command a little bit, and it's nice where you get like you feel like you're running your own thing and you're doing your own thing and not having people guess what you're doing all the time.
Yeah, no, that's the perfect situation. There's no doubt about that. Hey, whenever a player gets called up, what's that process like? Will they ask your opinion, like in terms of who deserves to get called up, depending on what the need is at that particular time? Or do you just get the call and say, hey, this guy's coming up? And then I would imagine you love making that phone call to the kid too, to say, hey, you're going up to the National Hockey League, whether it's their first time ever or, if they've played 100 games. I'm sure that's, just as rewarding for you.
Yeah, it is. That was new to me this year, and that was fun. That was fun for sure. I think as far as getting a call up, there's such a communication between me and the development staff, and it's an ongoing thing. Bridging that gap that it's not. Usually it's not, okay, who do you want to call this moment? They already know who's playing well. They already have an idea who we like down there. And then when they call them up, we're not so surprised. But for me, it was fun with Dvorsky, his call up, especially being a young kid. That was his first call up, and I think we got off the bus in Bridgeport, and I called him to the side, and he thought he was in trouble. I think a little bit. He was like, because that's something I don't usually do when you get off the bus, and no, you're getting called up. So he was a little bit obviously very excited, a little bit surprised at that moment, but that was fun for me to watch a first time call up.
Oh yeah. And his dad was there, right? First time ever coming over to see him, maybe in the American League, right? To see him play pro hockey over here in North America. Didn't his dad just get there?
Well, I know he was in the game. I remember watching the game and they interviewed him on the game. Now I can't remember for sure if he flew in for that or if he was coming in to watch the American League. I don't
He
know
was
for
in
sure. But
Springfield. I think I
Was
did
in
the interview
Springfield.
with him during the Blues game, and I want to say that he was in Springfield. He came in to watch him, so it was perfect timing for him to be over here. So he caught his first NHL game. Nothing better than that.
Yeah, no, very exciting.
Um, you got a lot of guys. I'm just curious as an American League coach. Is it about winning? Because you want to win, man. You're a competitor. You want to win. I mean, I'm sure that's the goal every single time you see prepare your guys to go out there and play. But you also want to develop these guys to get to the NHL and help the NHL team win. So, what's the balance like as an American League coach in terms of development?
Well, I mean, it's development. First and foremost, it's development. You cannot lose that perspective. That's why the American League is formed. The NHL teams have the American League so they can develop their hockey players. So you can never lose sight of that. That being said, like I really take the approach that it's the same habits, and it's the same habits that when I'm developing an individual hockey player to play in the NHL, that's going to keep him in the NHL. It's the same kind of habits you're teaching that also develops a winning culture and a winning team in the American League, right? The 200-foot game, the battle, the compete level, the work ethic, and then you bring it with the young skill, so you can do both. You definitely can do both. And also with that, the developing, when you get a player that's 20, you want to develop some by the end of the year, he's better. Well, that's going to help you win as well. And we saw Devo really take off, example on the power play. He has that natural ability. We had him in a couple different spots, and I'll tell you what, he was a good power play guy when we first got him, but by the end he was a dynamic guy on the half wall. So again, that's part of development, which in the end helped us win as well, because all of a sudden our power players started to take off. So they go hand in hand, but you can never forget that we're there to develop hockey players and help the St. Louis Blues win.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's talk some Dvorsky real quick. You mentioned power play. He scored over 20 goals, which is, I don't want to say it's rare, but it's not very common for a kid of his age to come in as a teenager and score 20. You just don't see it very often. People talk about his skating. What do you see from his skating? And is he a natural center? Did you ever play him on the wing, or you specifically only view him as a center?
You know what? I think the first thing, centers are so hard to come by. You're gonna spend as much time with any of our young guys that are centers, keep them at center and trying to develop them at center, because they're so valuable come the NHL. So we wanted to keep working with him there, and he grew. He grew defensively. He grew better in his own end, and that's important. Where guys end up in the NHL, you get up there, and a lot of guys are centers, but when you get there, you get put to wing and the chemistry with someone else. And where he shakes out, I could see him playing a little bit of both. Like he's so good at getting the puck and moving it quick to the open guy. He's a sneaky good passer. Everybody talks about his shooting ability, which is above average, but he's a sneaky good passer. And I think in the brief games in St. Louis, you really saw, like, if you're a skill guy and you're playing with Devo, you'd like it because he's getting you the puck. And then he'll get open and be in position for a good shot. So I still believe he's a center. I still believe he's a center, and I think he's going to be able to be a good solid center. But if you put him with a pretty good passer, a center that's a pretty good passer, and he's on the wing, he's got that shot that can be pretty deadly as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because everybody wants to be in the NHL, but some of these kids, listen, they got to learn to be patient too, right? Their time will come. Is that something you had to deal with him, or was he just focused on getting better every single day down there?
Oh, he has a good attitude. Very good kid. Very good kid. Very good attitude. Obviously, like as far as me working with him, he didn't show many signs of letting his frustrations get to his game, whether it's practice or or in the games. I know, you hear from other people. He wants to be in the NHL. They all do, and I think they want to be there quick. I was no different. I wanted to be there quick. I didn't want to be in the American League, and I think that's special. I think you want a player that wants that too. They have that hunger. It's just about channeling it the right way, and he did. I think this, with our team, we were very young, especially up front. I mean, we had two 19-year-olds, a couple 20-year-olds up front, 20-year-old defensemen. They're all shocked how good this league is, the American League, and they're all top players, first round picks, second round picks. They're top players coming from where they are, and they're shocked how good the American League is. So I think that also helps them stay focused. Because if you're not focused in the American League, you're not going to have success there as well. And so that I think that kind of keeps everybody in line and helps them move forward.
What about a guy like Otto Stenberg, who came and arrived late? I think you still had him for close to 40 games, something like that. A lot of high profile. He's played on the big stage, obviously playing international games with Sweden in the World Juniors and whatnot. First round pick. What'd you see from him? And did you play him at center as well?
No, we played him more on the wing. Played him more on the wing. He did really good. And again, he's a guy at the end of the year was probably a little frustrated, with the exit meetings that, they're top players and they want to dominate the game every time they're out there. And he played, in my opinion, he played very well for us. You get a 19-year-old halfway through the year and he came in, we could play him 15, 16 minutes, some power play, some penalty kill. He's a smart hockey player. He has such a well-rounded skill set. He can skate, he can shoot, he can think. So it's all there. I think again, it was just a 19-year-old playing with grown men. And so I think as he gets stronger, all that will just take another step. He'll have the puck more, and he'll add more offense, and which I know he wants. But again, very impressive for him to be able to come over and play the amount of minutes he did for us.
One of the most interesting players you have down there, and we don't hear a ton about him because you've got Bennington and you've got Hofer, but Colton Ellis is a guy. I just feel like he keeps getting better and better. What you know about him, and what's your read on him in terms of his future?
Well, I mean, I didn't know a lot coming in. You learn your players, and I certainly was very impressed with his play all season. All season. Again, I talked about the young guys we have, whether it's on front or back end. That's going to come with some mistakes and some growing pains. And he was an anchor for us all year. His demeanor, he's got a good, calm demeanor. Works hard, takes care of himself. For sure, in my opinion, he has an NHL career ahead of him. To what level? I don't know. I don't know if anybody can totally predict goalies anymore, who steps out and who doesn't, but he certainly was a top goalie in our league. So if you're a top player in the American League, you have a chance to be a player in the NHL.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Zach Dean, a guy the Blues got a few years ago in a trade. He was a former first-round pick of Vegas, dealt with some injuries. Did he come on towards the end of the season and kind of give you an idea of what you have there as a player?
Yeah, he was obviously he was frustrated, missed a lot of time this year, but you could see it at the end. He came back at the end and he was skating well. Playoffs, so he didn't have a whole lot of games to get ready for playoffs, but he jumped right in, and his deceptive speed and above average hockey IQ, he's got skill to go with it. So you definitely see why he's a first round pick. And he has NHL potential. And for him, I think he's just, looking forward to good training camp and pushing for the Blues, and another guy that should go and trying to make the Blues out of camp. And if not, come back and put some games together. But he definitely has a well-rounded skill set to play in the NHL.
All right, so one guy, talk about a sleeper heading into main camp coming up this year, and I'm excited to see what he looks like because I've heard so much about him, watched him play in the World Juniors as well, and I truly believe he's on the radar. I mean, there's no question about it. Is Kazamäki, right? I'm the Finnish kid. What kind of game does he have? Describe what he's bringing to the table, game in and game out.
He's a good solid two-way hockey player. Again, he'd be a guy that I would like to play with. If he can play give and go hockey. He'll give you the puck. He's in position to support you. Reliable defensively. Again, skill level to complement the maybe the top guy top few guys on the NHL team. can play penalty kill because of his hockey sense, can play power play, whether move him around. We could play him in all different positions on the power play. And just he's a good, well-rounded hockey player. And certainly, again, he should be thinking, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to turn heads and make the Blues, because he played at one point. There's probably a 2-month stretch there where he could have been our best forward out there. So that's, again, you're talking about a very young player that was playing that good for us.
Yeah, I like hearing that. Give me another name or two of guys that really impressed you this past season that maybe don't get a ton of attention. I mean, Dylan Peterson's a guy who you want to see how he'd translate to or his game would to the pro level. I mean, Leo Luce, a big defenseman. I mean, you've got some guys down there that I think are familiar to Blues fans.
Well, it's fun. It's fun. You brought up a couple that I would bring up actually, like Loof could be maybe our most improved player, and it's not because of his skill set, because that's always there. His consistency throughout the year got better and better. He can skate and he's competitive. He hits, and he has skill to go with it. He got dinged up just a little bit at the end of the year, and boy, we sure missed him. He came back for the playoffs, but he's a good player. So with his skating ability and his competitiveness, and everybody's still looking for the defenseman that can go out and hit and no one wants to play against. He has that element with some skill to be able to make that first pass and help out. So he'll be exciting. He'll be exciting this year to see if he can take another step. And then the other guy, like you brought up Peterson, you brought up all the skilled forwards, and not that he doesn't have skill, because he does, but you bring up the other guys, but you need the third, fourth line, up and down, crash and bang type forward. And he grew his game as the year went on, where again, he got hurt at the end of the year a bit too. We really missed him. He brought a lot of energy for us. He could forecheck, and he can get in on the forecheck. He goes to the net without the puck. He's a big guy. He'll fight if he needs to, or at times if he feels the team needs to. So, he's a guy that I'd watch coming out of camp, that, if St. Louis needs something, that crash and bang and an energy guy on that fourth line, I think he can be that. So, So he's another exciting guy, which is a little different mold from some of the Dvorskys and Kaskamakis and Stenbergs, but you need all kinds of players, and he certainly came along.
When you say Kazimaski, going back to him real quick, I mean, you say he was your best player for a good stretch there. I mean, are we talking like his ability with the puck, like his skill level? Is he dynamic? Like, how do you describe his game from an offensive standpoint?
I think, if you go watch him at first, you're probably not gonna he's not gonna be, oh wow, look at, he went end to end, or well, he dangled that guy and and made these highlight type plays. It's his consistency with doing the right thing all the time that just, by the end of the game, he's made good contributions into winning, and it's just that kind of play that again, the players get trust in him, and obviously the coaching staff, and it's a winning type hockey player. So but he's not. He did have a couple highlight plays, but for the most part, it's doing the right thing and enough skill level to make the good plays, but and just go from there. But the reliability is just one of his biggest assets.
How do you coach a guy like Alexandrov, for example, Nikita Alexandrov? Because, he plays an offensive game down there. He's gotten, a taste of the NHL. He's gotten a cup of coffee up here and had a chance, Maybe doesn't have the high-end NHL top six consistency that you want, but can he be a bottom six guy? I guess is the best way to ask the question. Does he have that in his game, or do you have to play him in an offensive role?
No, absolutely. I think he can be a bottom six guy. I think he can, in the NHL, he can be a third line player and penalty kill. And he's a good penalty killer. We had, obviously we have to sort out a lot of minutes, and I give Nicky a lot of credit. Obviously, a different situation, maybe some of our younger guys. He had already been in the NHL, so it's a little different mindset when they come down, but he came down with the right attitude that he wanted to keep playing in the NHL and prove everybody wrong. He worked hard. He became, again, one of the biggest players on our team. And I talked to him early, and we had the conversation that, if you're going to play in the NHL, the role might be a little different. It might not be the power play role. And he took pride in that. At times I would have liked the penalty kill more, but he was such a big part on our power play. And also, we have young guys, different guys we wanted to penalty kill as well, that we didn't get as much ice there. But again, when I needed one to penalty kill in the playoffs and we were banged up a little bit, He's a big part of the penalty kill. I think he's got enough speed. He's got enough hockey sense. He's got enough strength to play a third line penalty killing role in the NHL, in my opinion.
You should get guys like Stancil, right? You had him for like 10 games or whatever it was last year. I would imagine you see him a lot more this season. Big body who can play. Pekarsik, if I imagine he's turning pro this year, right? He's going to be available for you in the American League. So, it's a good opportunity. You're going to get some good players that are young, but again, getting back to the development stage, you get to work with these guys that have a lot of talent and a lot of NHL ability.
Well, yes, and Stansel's good. Again, another guy. He's coming out of junior hockey, playing in the American League down the stretch. He was, again, exit meeting. Well, he would have liked to do a little bit better in his mind, but I thought he did great for a young kid coming out 19. It's a hard league, especially that time of the year. But Karsik's a big, talented guy that's got one-on-one ability as good as a lot of players. So the talent's there. It's fun for me to coach young players. Yeah. I want to see these guys move on, get to the NHL. Again, that's what the American League's for. And I'm excited. Another guy, Robertson, was real good for us. He was unfortunately banged up a bit, but when he played, sneaky, real good, kind of Kaskamaki type player. Very good too. All these guys, I'm really excited because we have a lot of the same team coming back now. Mm-hmm. Now these 19-year-olds are 20 and 20 or 21, assuming however it shakes out with the Blues. But it's a very good core. Everybody left, the exit meetings with the players. They're all excited to know what to expect coming into the season for the team and for themselves, and believing in each other that we can take another step. So I think it should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, Lucas Fisher is another guy you're going to be able to have this season too, young defenseman. I think he played a couple games last year for you, right?
He played a couple. I think he's still too young. So again, because he's only, because he'll be 19 this year. He'll be 19 this year, and then depending where you're from, Europe or junior, sometimes 19s can play or they can't play, or maybe now they might be allowing one 19-year-old. So we'll see the way the CBA
starting next year, right?
Is it next year? I'm not even. So as far as I know from Dev Camp, he's still too young to play, but very talented. Burns is a guy that probably be on our team this year.
Yeah.
Awesome character, captain of his junior team, big physical type defenseman. If anything, we'll probably have to reel him in a little bit and keep it under control. But I love that. You want that. So there's another big young guy, and Butchinger, he was 20 playing for us, and so we expect him to take a step. So there's a lot of really good young prospects for the Blues.
Yeah, there's no doubt. So Fisher, what was the loophole that allowed him to play games last year? I guess once his season ends, you can call him up.
Yeah, if your season's over, you can come up and play some games. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They should let him play. They should let him play next year. There.
Well, he went out and played it. Well,
you think 19's too young? You think 19's too young to play in the league or no?
I think it depends on the player. I really do. If you're fit, I just think you have to be physically ready, because it's still men out there, and to me, it's an injury type thing, and your body's going to wear down, and it, like a guy like Dvorsky's a big thick kid, so for him, I think physically he was ready. But you don't want to get these young guys put in a situation where they can get hurt or from getting worn down. So if they're physically ready, I think they can have a chance to play. But coming from junior hockey, most guys are not ready to play in the league at 19.
Yeah. All right. I'm looking forward to training camp, seeing all these guys. I mean, I like how you said Quentin Burns. They got to reel him in because he fights and he is aggressive, man. I love watching him play. So you got some young, good, talented players. One player that I probably wouldn't expect you to get is Jimmy Snuggerud. Don't expect that, I guess, with the way that he came up and finished the year last year. But I'm sure you would love to work with a young player like that. But again, it's impressive then. I mean, just to show you what you're saying about 19-year-olds, how tough it is to come into the American League. I mean, when these kids at 19 and 20 find their way to the NHL, I mean, it's really hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, give him a lot of credit. He stepped in there and looks like he carved a role for himself with the Blues right out of the gate there. So good for him. Obviously, hockey's hockey, and training camp will create a competition. So you never know, but it certainly looks like he's going to be a big part of the Blues. But, credit for him because he went and played well. Yeah. And, just the other kid we haven't even brought up yet, Lidstein's another top player coming through.
He's coming.
That defenseman that I'm excited to work with. You see his skill level too with, so, you got Burns coming in, who's kind of that big crash and bang guy. And then you got Lidstein, who's elite skill. So So a nice mixture again. There's just a lot of nice young prospects coming through.
If you have a veteran guy who's 27 and you've got I mean, you mentioned Lindstein, he's a power play guy, right? I mean, he's a skilled guy. You see what he does in the on the international level and what he's done. It, when it's development, how do you balance that? I mean, you're trying to win the game, but you also want to get these guys to play the role that they're likely going to play when they get to the NHL, right? So you have to balance that too. It can't be easy to be a veteran guy sometimes when you got a bunch of young prospects coming in.
It's not easy to be a veteran guy, and our guys are great. Led by Pekka, our guys are great, and Shu on the back end. They understand it. I know when the season starts, we don't hide from that. We don't hide that it's a development league. We let the players know, the team knows that this is a development league first and foremost. There's going to be some young guys that are going to get put in positions to help them. Now, that being said, they also have to understand that if it wasn't for the development, there wouldn't be a league and they wouldn't be making the kind of money, so it kind of balances there. But I also do understand that these guys, they want their next contract as well, right? The 27-year-old, the 28-year-old, or the 30-year-old, so-called career, they want their next contract. And at some point they have to put up numbers too. So you do have to try to balance that to a certain point, but it's our guys were really good. At times you got to just talk to them and get them through certain moments when you're playing young guys. I know the Blues are good and they support me, and we'll give all the young guys the ice time, but there's still a compete factor, and they have to be buying in good character and working hard. Obviously, if there's some of those non-negotiables that slide, then some of their ice time can slide too. But so it's not set in stone. But we didn't have that problem. All our young guys worked hard and competed all year, and I think so that makes it easy for the veterans to respect that they're getting the ice time.
Yeah. Last thing for you. I mean, because you played in the American League too. You didn't play there very long, but you did. And you played almost 800 games in the NHL. But how good is the American League now versus when you played? I mean, is it that different today versus it was back when you were, turning pro and playing in the American League?
Well, I mean, you're going back a lot of years as far as I think hockey in general is just deeper, right? The NHL is deeper. The skill level, when I watch games now, I just watch the stick handling and passing ability of the NHL compared to when I was in the NHL. And that's from the first line guy to the fourth line guy. And so that's trickled down to the American League. The American League, your fourth line can easily become a first line guy with injuries or call-ups at times, right? There's just that much depth. There's just so much depth in hockey right now. And I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, no doubt. Look at Nathan Walker, how he plays in the American League, and then he almost like transforms himself in the National Hockey League into finding a way to stick in the lineup and be effective every single night. It's real impressive. Those guys can do that. So, listen, man, all the best. I enjoyed this conversation. It was fun. I know Blues fans will certainly enjoy it as well. Enjoy the rest of the summer up there in the Pacific Northwest, and we'll see you in training camp here in a few weeks.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, Steve. Take care, man.
All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you. Yep. Good conversation with Steve Konowalchuk, one of the best names going right now in hockey, but certainly a really good coach. You can tell he's got a firm handle of the players down there in the American League. And, when you're Doug Armstrong, you're Alexander Steen, Tom Stillman, everyone, you just it's comforting going to bed at night that you have a coach down in the American League that is fully capable of doing the job, and your prospects are in good hands and getting better and developing. And, he's a hockey lifer, man. He's been around for a long time. You mentioned some of the guys that he's been around. And I didn't even talk about it. Like when he's coaching in Seattle in junior, he had Shea Theodore. He had Matthew Barzal. He had all these guys. And then coaching in Red Deer. And so he's been around the block a time or two, and certainly appreciate him taking the time to be with us. Lordo's Diamonds brings us the interview with Steve Konowalchuk today. Are you looking to get something special for that something special in your life? Of course you are. Go to Lordo's Diamonds and go there today. LordosDiamonds.com, right there in the heart of Ladue, right next to Truffles. You can't miss it. 314-432-8008 if you want to give them a call. Again, if you've got a $500 budget or you have a $500,000 budget, if you're a big wheel and you got a $500,000, listen, you're going to get treated exactly the same by Mike and Jimmy Lordo. Now, these guys are the absolute best. Cindy, everybody over there, Pat. I'll never go anywhere else. I've gotten so much jewelry from my wife from Lordo's Diamonds, and will continue to do so. forever, the only place I'll go is Lordo's Diamonds, right there in the heart of Ladue, 314-432-8008. Again, Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Give David Novak a call. Call him today. He's standing by waiting for you, and he'll take great care of you as well. Cross Country Mortgage, our newest sponsor here on Hockey Sense. I can't tell you how excited I am to have Cross Country Mortgage with us, Mark Cooper and everybody over there with the team. I mean, they've got so much good stuff going on. And again, the most important thing that I want everyone to know is that they can close loans in all 50 states. What they do for the first responders, I mean, if you are injured or you're even killed, unfortunately, in the line of duty, they will cover your mortgage up to $525,000. You got to be kidding me. Loans for doctors up to $1 million with zero down, no PMI. They're taking care of the doctors as well. So again, they got the bye-bye PMI loan with a 740 or better credit score. You can have no PMI with 15% down or 15% equity. Unbelievable stuff. You got to give Mark a call today. Mark Cooper, 314-713-4377. 314-713-4377. Cross Country Mortgage. One out of every 35 mortgages in the country are done with Cross Country Mortgage. I mean, that is an astounding number. One out of every 35 closings in America is done with Cross Country. That's incredible. MLS number 238015, 238015. Give Mark Cooper a call today and welcome to the team, 314-713-4377. We'll come back and wrap up this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. You wouldn't do your banking anywhere else. We'll tell you why on the other side. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Hockey Sense, live from Half Coast Studios. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense with Steve Konowalchuk. I wanted to get into Blues prospects, man. I mean, let me know in the comments below who you're most excited to see this season, come training camp, come preseason. Who's your sleeper to play NHL games this year? I think Kazimaki's got some real opportunity to play games. And who knows, man, maybe these guys are going to push somebody out and they're going to end up making the NHL roster. You just never know. Leo Loop, I love what he was saying about Leo Loop, man, the physicality. It's good to have players like that in the lineup. You know, getting a guy like Quentin Burns now going with his professional career. Stancil, Pekarsik, all these guys. You know, how many hockey fans or, you know, fans of NHL teams, and I'm talking real fans, are truly focused on what's going on down in the American Hockey League on a day-to-day basis as well. If you're a Blues fan, you should be, because they've got so many great players. I mean, so much talk about Dvorsky and Stenberg and Lindstein and all these guys in Snuggerud, and for good reason, because all these guys are going to play and they're going to be a big part of the Blues' future moving forward. And Dvorsky, listen, he may not make the team out of training camp this year, but he's going to play. And by this time next season, this guy will be a full-time NHLer. And is going to have a bright future and certainly a great career ahead of him. But, you know, all this talk about all the Blues prospects the last couple of years in the World Juniors and all these guys coming along, and now they're starting to arrive as professional hockey players. So it truly is an exciting time. I can't wait to see how this next wave of players evolve as professional hockey players and then eventually find their way to St. Louis here with the St. Louis Blues. Hockey Sense, as always, you know what it's brought to you by First Community. Our friends over there at First Community. It's back to school time. Get the kids back to school. Let's go. Listen, I love summer, and it's great to be with the kids all the time, but it gets to a point where it's August, and you know, it's back to school time. I used to say that school starts way too early. When my kids were a little bit younger, like, wow, they go back in August. Because when I was growing up, you didn't start until the day after Labor Day. Now they start in August, but it's time. Let's get back to school. Let's get back to school. If you have a young person in your life who's going back or away to school, like colleges, all the kids are going back to colleges. And there's so much to be done. If you have a son or daughter that's going back to college or they're entering college for the first year, you want to hook them up with their own checking account because they need money. And you guys know that firsthand, how much money they need. But get them their own checking account through First Community. They've got a college cashback checking account that earns cash back with no minimum balance and no monthly fee. So the account comes with free mobile banking, a free debit card. If you have your own account at First Community, they can even set you up with cross-account online access so you can help them with their banking even if you're not at home. So ask about that as well. firstcommunity.com. They got you taken care of no matter how old you are, including those college students who are going back to school. So be sure to do that and do that today. We love all our sponsors who support us here on Hockey Sense. Travelhouse.com, of course, our friend Gail, ready to take care of you. Spring breaks, summer vacations, ski vacations, cruises, Hawaii, all-inclusives. They specialize in the all-inclusives. If you're looking to go to Jamaica, Mexico, Dominican Republic, I mean, look no further than travelhouse.com, H-A-U-S, Travelhouse, H-A-U-S, Travel House. Call Gail today. Look them up. Got a great website, travelhouse.com. They'll take care of you. Frontenac Detailing. Do you have dents on the side of your car? Do you have scratches on your car? Are your wheels scuffed up? Do you have burn holes in your seats? You shouldn't. But if you do, they can take care of you with that. Little cracks in the windshield. You know, some people think, God, I'm going to ignore this because I've got to get a whole new windshield. No, you don't. You take it to Frontenac Detailing, and they'll just get rid of that little crack, that little fracture that you have in your front windshield. I took my car in. They did the ceramic coating. It looks nicer than it did the day I took it off the lot. Jim and his team are absolutely incredible. You got to give them a call and take your car in. It's right there where the Honda Frontenac dealership is. They've got space inside the front of the Honda Frontenac dealership. Frontenac Detailing. Unbelievable. 314-226-7411. What Jim did for my car, I can't thank him enough, man. It's like you just bought a brand new car. I mean, that's kind of how it feels. So the best time to protect it is right now with professional ceramic coating. Makes your paint shine. Shields from bugs, sap. All that sap gets on your car. All the stuff that's in the air here in Missouri. Stains, chips. I chose Frontenac Detailing for an 8-year coating on my new Audi. And you can do it as well. It looks even better when I picked it up. So who wouldn't want that kind of protection? I know you do. Call Jim at Frontenac Detailing today, 314-226-7411. All right, we got to get out of here. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense. We thank Aiden for all his help today. Be sure to tune in every single Friday. Subscribe and like everything we do on YouTube. And do the same for the Cam and Strick podcast as well. Some great interviews coming there with Monty and Dylan Holloway, some Blues stuff happening, and also some other big names from around the NHL. We just dropped Kyle Dubas, his first interview that he's ever done on a podcast. And he hadn't done anything since he left the Toronto Maple Leafs, now as the GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Great conversation. We had a lot of fun talking with him, so check that out. Still up there on all platforms, just like all our interviews are, from the Cam and Strick podcast to Hockey Sense with Andy Strickland. Reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again next Friday. It's our Friday tradition, Hockey Sense, live from the Half Coast Studios. Have a great weekend, everybody.